Okay, so since I don't really have anything else to do right now, I decided to make this video. I feel really nervous, but I don't know why. But anywho, so if you guys remember the different videos I've made about how CPS traffics people, or at least I think I made videos about that. But it's like I think about doing stuff and then I think I did it, then I find out months later I never did it. So I know I posted that video I downloaded from TikTok with the girl who's being trafficked by CPS, and I'm sure I've mentioned it before at least. So I found out something else last night. Basically, after something goes wrong in CPS, they're able to just throw out the kids' files. So like if a kid goes missing or runs away, they can just throw out the files and then act like the kid never existed and not look for the kid. Or if they can't find the kid and they don't want to be accountable for what happened to the kid, then they'll just throw the files out. Or if the kid dies in a way that they shouldn't have died, like one person I know who's been trafficked and then ended up in a whole bunch of quote unquote coincidental sexual abuse situations where they claimed they would get her out and didn't. She said in one home she's in now, one of the babies drowned and nobody knew for a good little minute. And after that, they most likely threw out her files because I asked if, like, in situations like that, do they do that? And she said sometimes they will. So that's something else that can happen. It made me think about this video I was watching where this lady said her grandson has been in CPS custody. And basically, one time they lost him and forgot where they placed him at, and she had to remind them. So, I'm trying to think what else I have to say. I don't really know if I have anything else. Wait a minute. Okay, well, I can't really think of anything else, but one thing I can say that I noticed a long time ago. So if anybody has ever actually seen the evidence channels, because this is mostly a channel where I try to focus on talking about the problem of the cash for kids system as a whole. But if you've ever seen the evidence channels where most of them were just about my situation or my different situations really, then I've mentioned before somewhere on there, I'm pretty sure, that although I had never made a CPS report, one time I thought I did, but I didn't. Back in, what was that? Maybe 2022. I actually already didn't even like CPS before I really knew about all the different stuff that goes on, and before I had even pieced together the Cash for Kids system. Because with how the social workers acted, especially in NC, I just didn't really see them as trustworthy. Because the social workers, honestly, they act like those feminists that hate kids. That's what a lot of them act like. Not to mention the racial stuff with it. And how some of them were pretty racist. And then, of course, there was one who was really, really crazy in February 2021 in NC. She was probably like, well, was she the worst one? I think she was the worst one, though. Because I remember some of the situation because it's like really repressed memories. But I know I was crying because something she wasn't listening to. And then I was crying and she was laughing while I was crying. And then I had the video evidence then too, but only with my dad because I hadn't even moved back in with my mom yet. She wouldn't even watch the videos. And I remember when that happened in February 2021, I was like, honestly, it's probably a good thing she didn't watch them because she probably would have just snitched about them and got them deleted. Lo and behold, when somebody reported way in 2/17/22, when I had the 1,950 plus videos of abuse evidence at that point. And of course, as you know, well, if you've watched any of those, CPS just snitched about the videos and got most of them deleted. Although that was the first social worker that didn't act like she hated kids. But that was a defects in GA. And she was the first social worker to ever talk to me in a separate location. But her supervisor wouldn't let her do anything. That was a thing, though. And so, supposedly, quote unquote, at least from what my enabler relative said, is that after the social worker couldn't get me out, she was quitting her job. Well, she said she was going to quit eventually. But then one time when I went to the doctor, I saw her there to see another kid. Man, that was a whole bunch of mess. But anywho, I had already got the red flags with them way back when. Before I even pieced together the whole cash for kids system and knew about all the different trafficking stuff. I did know somebody who used to talk about how they traffic kids. It was this girl I met on IG back when I used to even get on social media in 2020. No, was that 2020? That wasn't 2020. That was 2021 too, I think. Yeah, that was in 20. Dang, I'm choking. That was in 2021, but after I moved back in with my mom. And she used to talk about that a lot. I did know about trafficking and stuff because I studied all that ever since I was like 7. But I didn't know about the cash for kids system, of course. But once I was able to like get to a calmer position in my whole Munchausen situation with the cash for kids system and all that, and then get off the little brain damage, neurotoxin, psychotropics, that's when I was actually able to get back into the right state of mind to start actually processing and thinking about all the different stuff that happened. Because one thing that these people know, just like with one of the video before last that I posted with that girl who's being trafficked by CPS, they know that one thing about those psychotropics is that they mess people up so bad to where you don't really think. So when people are telling you stuff and they're gaslighting you, you believe them easier because you already can't think. And then everything is kind of like a dissociated blur. So you don't really know what's going on. You're halfway asleep and all that. And then you're so sick you can't really do anything. So it's like you just go along with everything and you play the roles people want you to play. But once you get off them, you can start actually thinking again and actually realizing what's going on. Because there's some people that end up on those drugs, even just with the ADHD pills, which are also psychotropics. There are some people that are on those for years because the school system comes in, and of course they know they can do the talk with the single moms, but whenever the dad is actually in the house and he knows what's going on, it's the dads that stop this. But the single moms, even the ones who aren't like, that don't have some type of weird abuse agenda, will commonly fall for this, oh, your son has ADHD thing. And then he gets put on the drugs. Then once he finally can get off them at 18 plus or whatever, he's so messed up, he's killing people and stuff. So, yeah, I've heard stories like that too. That can happen. And I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. But yeah, also, I realized that, like, with how bad the social workers are, I can only even imagine what all goes down once you're in the system. That's something else I had noticed and, thought about before I had even pieced together everything. I was like, if the social workers are this bad and hateful, what all do they do in the system? I mean, of course, there was this point in time where I had this, like, magical thinking, what is it called? Magical thinking adoption story in my head, but I didn't really ever think it was going to happen. And I already really wanted to give up on the whole CPS thing anyway, but luckily I realized before a lot of other people do that there is no system put in place to help people under 18 or really anybody, especially anybody who's not a perpetrator. And so I just stopped caring about all that and didn't really want people to report anything because, I mean, they're not going to do anything anyway. I also realized once I started piecing together the whole cash for kids system thing that, like, if I'm already in a Munchausen situation where I'm being pushed through the Cash for Kids system and then getting all these labels, that's the stuff that happens once you get in the system. So I would just be in the same situation or worse. So there was that I realized too, because once you get in the foster care system, they start throwing mental labels on you, claiming you're just crazy or you just have ADHD, the ADHD bullcrap. And what else was it? Oh yeah, the drugging, all that, getting put in mental health facilities as punishments or just because there's nowhere else for you to go. So I realized it was just going to be the same mess. And that's when I had made a video sometime maybe I think it was 2022, where I was like, honestly, I really believe that some of these social workers who claim they don't believe you aren't just doing that as an excuse to not do their job, but I really believe that some of them are claiming to not believe your abuse situation. They tell you they don't believe you or whatever, because really they know once you get in the system, you're going to go through the same thing or worse, to where you might as well stay in your house anyway. That's something else I had pieced together. So yeah, I think that's really all I have to say though.